What is up, people? It is MewMonster58 and welcome back to another video review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series 86 Leader Class Autobot Springer as he appeared in the 1986 movie. Now, this figure has not been without its controversy. A lot of people I know as soon as this thing was even leaked and when it was fully revealed, a lot of people were questioning whether this figure is worth a Leader Class price point, considering the last release of this figure was in the Siege line as a Voyager. And so we are going to be here to answer that question today, and I'm obviously going to give you guys my, opinions on it, because I know that this figure has had a lot of talk about it ever since it was revealed and everything, and even leaked and stuff like that. So, without further ado, though, before we get into all that, let's take a quick look at the box. As you can see, you do have some really nice artwork of Springer. As you can see, 3-in-1 Studio Series 86 Autobot Springer. Transformers, the movie logo right up there. You do have the Transformers Generations Transformers here. Has some more nice artwork of the boy Springer right here. You got some more nice artwork here. Studio Series 86. You got Leader Class right there as well. More nice artwork. And finally, you do have your obligatory product shots. Transforms in 31 as well as 27 steps. So we will be starting off actually in the helicopter mode, and then we will get into it from that. But besides that, I think that the main display piece is having to do with that scene in the movie. I'm not exactly sure. That kind of looks like the scene where, if I'm not mistaken, where in like that original flashback episode where the aerial bots go back and see where Optimus Prime first ended up becoming Optimus Prime when he was, shot by Megatron as Orion Pax with Ariel and everything like that, right? But this might be a completely different scene. I can't remember. It's been a minute, so I apologize if I got that wrong for this background. So I would appreciate that if you guys would leave in the comments what scene. I can't remember what scene this was from. But yeah, I think that is really it for the box. As per usual, Hasbro usually kills it with the box, and so... Alrighty, folks, here we have the Transformers Studio Series 86 Leader Class Springer in his helicopter mode, and I'm just gonna say this. I've always found Springer's helicopter mode to just be kind of stupid. Like, don't get me wrong, is it accurate to the show? Absolutely it is. Does that make the design very good? I don't really think so. It's kind of a stupid helicopter mode. They threw that in there so that, they could make him and sell him more, as a toy and whatever. But as you can see, it is very nice. The major thing you're going to notice here is the paint is completely different. This is a much more cartoon-accurate paint scheme. As you can see, some very nice details. You have the nice Autobot logo there. Got some really nice molded-in details right there as well. More nice molded details throughout. You can see this is the helicopter rotor, which is also a sword. Very clean throughout. I mean, there's nothing really crazy about this. It looks good. There's nothing insane. I mean, it just looks really solid. Very nice details across the board. But, again, does this warrant the leader price point? We'll definitely see and definitely talk about that. But at least here in his helicopter mode, he does look pretty damn cool. And again, the paint is much more accurate to the original cartoon, so I can't deny that in the animation. So, as per usual, we are going to be doing some comparisons. So we are going to set this guy off to the side here. Here he is with the Deluxe Class Legacy United Magnus. As you can see, obviously a difference between a leader and a Deluxe, but obviously this is a leader that's a Voyager size. But yeah, you guys get an idea of how big this guy is. So, yep, pretty solid size in terms of the, comparison between, a Voyager size figure versus a Deluxe. Here it is with the Legacy United Sideburn from the RID universe. As you can see, again, Deluxe versus essentially Leader. That is a Voyager size. You can see, again, Springer's much bigger. Here is Sideburn much smaller. You can see the length here. There's a big size difference here, especially with this. And even in the car mode, you'll see that there's just a substantial girth difference as well between these two. So, yep, pretty solid scale here. I mean, nothing insane, but, again, we do have a leader that is a Voyager. Again, you'll see in the engineering and everything, this is where this figure definitely changes your complexion of the Springer mold, but again, we'll talk about that as we get into it. But yeah, here is the size between these two. And finally, to do the comparison that you guys have probably been wanting to see, here he is with the Siege Springer, which I believe that 95% of people have had in their collection as their Springer for the better part of the past few years. So as you can see, we're going to remove the guns that the original Springer came with, but Oh, and there goes his arm. Let me just tab that back in. But taking a look, what you can definitely see is the color. Like I told you, this is a much deeper green than this guy. You can also see the yellow is much more vibrant and more close to an orangey yellow, more like a golden yellow compared to this, which is a much more flat yellow. Even the chest is also different. You can see the molded differences here in the chest. This is much more accurate. This is still pretty accurate, but this is obviously the more accurate one. The other thing you can see here is on the top, these are molded differently, the whole what will become the backpack. So if you take a look here, let me remove the rotors because we're going to remove them anyway for transformation. So we're just going to remove those. As you can see, the tops are completely differently molded here. You can see this one here, the 86 one. This is the Siege one here on the bottom. We'll swap here. You can see the molded differences there. They do share molded difference, molded parts, specifically like here. You can see that these bits are exactly the same, just painted differently. Obviously, the darker green, but you can see here, even this is completely the same. All of this is basically the same. And getting down to the hands, this is also where it ends up changing a bit, and this isn't tabbed in quite there. There we go. Tabbed in quite the best. But yeah, you can see the bottoms are very, very similar. What I will say, though, something very disappointing about this Studio Series 86 Leader Class 1. In certain areas, this feels looser than this, and it feels really bad to say that. But certainly in areas, specifically even when standing, this guy actually feels, the Siege one feels a bit better and more stable than the Studio Series 86 one, which is kind of crazy to me. But what are you going to do? But yeah, this is the comparison you guys probably wanted to see, and there you go. Alrighty, moving on from that is the transformation into his car mode, because obviously this guy is a triple changer. So to do that, very, very simple. It's not really that bad at all. So we're going to lift these up. I like to have these up for the car mode. Then what we're going to do is we're going to untab the arms, and we'll just rotate them out. This just helps them get them out of the way, and we'll transform them first. So rotate this down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to rotate this around, push this in, and then fold that into place. And then you're going to fold this back up, and then take this bit and then fold it back into the fist, just as it was in the helicopter mode. So again, the same on this side. So we're going to rotate this down. We're going to rotate this around. We're going to push this in, fold this down, and then we are going to lift this back up and plug that into the fist, and that should be good there. And then we're going to take this, we're going to lift it up, and then we're going to take the legs, we're going to swing these back like so. Tab those in. We're going to split the legs, and then you'll notice that the waist is kind of weird right here. So the way that you're going to do this is we're going to move this out of the way so that you have clearance, and then you're going to push that leg up like so, and until it snaps into place, and then rotate this down. Same thing here. You're going to rotate this up, snap it into place, and rotate this down. Then you're going to rotate these towards the front, so now the back is facing the front, or well, what the front is now. You're going to take these sections, and we're going to rotate these around like so. We're going to do this. We're going to rotate both of these feet like that. Rotate them around like that. It's just annoying to get that around, but rotate this around and fold them, fold them and rotate them like this. Then we are going to see that there are two tabs there. All you gotta do is plug those together, and then you'll see that these little divots right here, the bottoms of the feet and the heels will actually very nicely sort of not tab into place, but they'll definitely rest in there, and they'll fill in those gaps. And then you just gotta take this section, fold it down. Then from here, what you're gonna do is you're gonna fold this all the way forward, the arms all the way forward, and then you're gonna push them in, and this slot right here, this hole, this tab will go into this hole right here. So do that, and make sure that this green bit here is in front of this green bit. So again, you'll see here, we're going to do this, tab that into place. And ladies and gentlemen, here we have Springer in his car mode. And guys, when it comes to his car mode, this is pretty cool. I mean, I prefer this over the helicopter mode, because again, I think the helicopter mode is pretty ridiculous. But this is his cool Cybertronian car mode. I mean, looking at it, you do have the details that obviously just carry across. You do get a little bit more, it's more condensed here. Like I told you, the girth of this thing is really where it's at, especially when you're comparing it to like a deluxe or something like that. But yeah, as you can see, it looks really, really nice. Again, the flat colors just end up working more for the animation. It just looks cleaner and crisper in comparison to the Siege version, which has all of that, disgusting, like, chipping damage or whatever you want to call it, the scratches and stuff that they were trying to emulate. But yeah, when it comes to the car mode, I mean, it's pretty solid, and I can't complain about it too much at all. I do really like how this looks. This is a personal design thing for me, but I really do like how this guy looks. Now, as per usual, we are going to be doing our comparison. So we're going to set Springer off to the side here. Alrighty, folks, here he is with Mr. Magnius again. As you can see, like I told you, it's really the girth in this guy. You can see the size difference still here, but yeah, again, it's the girth in Springer that really makes it feel better. This guy's really light. Springer's pretty condensed and decently heavy, so pretty solid stuff all around. I really can't complain about how the sizing of this of the Springer, as well as in addition to how he feels in comparison to something like a deluxe figure with Magnius here. Again, same thing here. We have him with Sideburn. As you can see, again, it's really the girth. I mean, this guy is tiny. I mean, you can see how tiny Sideburn is in comparison here. I mean, he's not even in the same, level of girth. Like, you can fit this entire car mode, and you still have extra for the fenders here for Springer himself. So, again, as you can see, pretty solid stuff. And finally, here he is with the original one. As you can see, like I said, this just looks better and is more accurate. I like it with these bits here. Again, this just looks not as good in terms of the paint, in my opinion. Aesthetically, this is much more pleasing to the eye than this. Again, I've compared all of the colors and stuff, but again, these guys are exactly the same size. Again, it's just those molded differences that you see ever so slightly. Specifically, I think the biggest that you see in the vehicle mode is mainly this area here in the back, as well as what will become essentially his abdomen area here in the front, as well as these bits even here. The other thing you can notice too, I didn't point this out, the 5mm ports have changed. You can see there's no 5mm ports on the fenders of this guy like they were here on the Siege one, and there's no 5mm here and here because of how this was molded. So you guys can see the differences here. It's nothing crazy, but it's enough to note of so that you guys can understand also what the differences are between both the SS86 one as well as the Siege one. But yeah, I think that's really about it for comparing these two in their vehicle modes. Alrighty, now it's time to get into the actual transformation from vehicle to robot mode. Now, when we do this, it's really not that bad, and I'm going to say there's pretty much very little to no major differences between the transformation of this thing and the original one, although I will point out a couple things that do. There's like one little thing that's changed, and in addition to that, there's one thing that's also made it easier to transform this guy from his vehicle mode into his robot mode, and I'll be sure to point that out. So, getting into it, I first like to untab this, and then what you can do is you can split the legs, and then I just like to start to rotate these down like this. Very simple. Then just fold the feet in, and then what you're going to want to do, well, actually, you're going to untab those and fold the little wing bits in, and then you can just leave it as is. So, sorry about that. Just do that. Fold that back in, and here, you basically have the legs. They're done. Now for the upper body. Very simple. So, split this, bring this down. Then what you're going to want to do is sort of accordion this section up, and then you're going to... Let me move the camera so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. You fold these out, and what you're going to want to do is essentially untab this and rotate it, and then rotate it all the way around. And what you'll notice, this is a difference here. So you see these two little tabs here. You see you have two little tab holes there. You have two tabs here, and then what you're going to want to do is I like to tab this, and then you can rotate the head out and then turn it all the way around. And then what you're going to want to do is these two tabs will go into these two holes. So we're going to push that back into place, and then you'll see that there is a tab right there at the base of the neck, that tab, and then there is a tab slot right there, and then you're just going to want to push that down, and then all you got to do here is just rotate this down and push that in, and you do have the upper part of Springer's chest. And we'll lower this a bit. It's a bit more... It's a bit easier to see. And then to do the arms. Now, this is a difference here. This part here on the original Springer, it's like cut out like here. Like there's no, it's hard to point this out, but this area right here is like cut out. And so it was always annoying that to try and peg in the arms into this sometimes, but with this one, it's much easier. So you do have this little tab here. So all you got to do is just tab this in like that. So you have a tab here just to coordinate that and tab that in like so. And then you can just rest this however you see fit. I like to fold these out like a little bit just to angle them. And then you get a very nice solid backpack. Now to do the arms, just untab these. Rotate these. Now this is an added joint that they put on the shoulders. You're going to want to fold this in. Fold this in and then fold that down. Same thing here, so you're just going to want to untab this, and then you're going to want to untab this and accordion it up a bit. Then you're going to want to fold this down like so. Make sure everything is tabbed together very nicely, but with that all out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, here we have the Transformers Studio Series 86 Leader Class Autobot Springer in his very amazing looking robot mode. Now, when it comes to the robot mode, as you can see, this guy, when you compare him to the original, it just blows it out of the water in terms of the aesthetic looks of this guy. So as you can see, let's come to the head sculpt. Much more accurate head sculpt in terms of the paint and everything like that. It looks really, really good. The nice yellow there, the nice blue for the eyes, the nice like slight smirk. Everything here looks really, really good. As you can see, too, the shoulders look great, and they're also much more functionally better because before these joints didn't exist, so you couldn't push them up. So really, really nice to also have that. Backpack is also nice and flush. But the only issue I have that I know people have pointed out too is this is the one that does get me, is if you swing this guy into the back, this still looks really disgusting. Considering this is a leader class figure, you would have thought that just similar to something like Commander class Rodimus, where they improved a lot of, they made a lot of good engineering choices to fill in gaps to make it look not disgusting, that they would have done that here. But unfortunately, no, they didn't do that here. And that's a real shame. It really does suck that this isn't just clean, because the front looks great. Fantastic, but unfortunately, the back doesn't. But overall, this guy looks really, really good. And I can't deny that when you're comparing this to the Siege version, this absolutely blows this blows that one out of the water in terms of the aesthetic looks. However, there are a few things I'd like to point out, and so usually I don't like to do this, but we're actually going to talk about the accessories. So getting into it, we have the accessory here. First off is the sword that is the rotor, so you can just fold this like so and it becomes a sword. Then you have a peg here. You also have the peg here that can just go into his hand. So very, very cool. It looks really, really nice. So I can't deny that this sword looks nice, and I also think that it was necessary to make the rotor. So it looks really, really solid. So set this off to the side here. Next accessory, you do have his very iconic blaster. This looks really, really good. I can't deny that it looks fantastic. I mean, you can see that molded detail is really, really good, and the cartoon accuracy is off the chain here. I mean, I think it looks absolutely amazing. You can do a little bit of a better one there. But yeah, you can see that looks really, really good. And I hope you guys also see that this just also looks really, really good. So, very nice accessory. These two, I think, are necessary. Now, the next thing, you come with these two. These are okay. They're very similar to the ones that we got with the other, with Springer. So, let me see if I can... Where did I put those? Oh, there they are. So here are the original ones on the Siege Springer. So as you can see, when we're comparing them, they're pretty much the same, just colored differently. Like you can see the comparison there. So we'll compare 1 to 1. So this is the Siege one, this is the new one. You can see pretty much the same, just colored differently. And then here is, once again, here is the Siege one, here is the SS86 one. So as you can see, I mean, when it comes to accuracy, these are much more accurate in terms of their color, but the molding is pretty much the same. But again, did we really need these? I don't personally think so, but they're nice to have, I guess. Next thing is his actual sword. This is his actual sword. This is Springer's sword. I believe he used this in the fight against the Junkions and stuff like that. But as you can see, this looks really, really good. The nice silver paint, some nice molded detail. The hilt looks really good. Black for the handle, very easy to just peg into his hand like so. Overall, really, really looks good. I think this is a necessary one as well. I didn't show this, but you can very easily just have the 5mm there, so you can peg that in there, you can peg it in here, whatever you want to do. It is your figure, your toy. You have full reign over how you want to display and use it. So set those back off to the side here. The next thing you do have is this missile pod. This is really cool, although I do think it's a tad bit large. He does have a way to hold it, so Sorry about that judder with the camera, but you'll notice with his hands, so I'll show this in the articulation, but you have the fold-out hands, which is really nice. You'll see, I don't know how well you can see that, but he's got like a little ridge for a peg. And so the idea is that you kind of twist this like so, you bring out the hand like this, and then in this part of the, this part of the missile, you can actually sort of peg that little ridge into it, and then you just have to finagle with it for a second to get him to actually hold it. But I absolutely did have him in this pose for a while. I was testing it. Yeah, there you go. See, he can actually hold it, and it does look very good. This is from the scene where I believe Devastator is punching the ship, the Ark. I believe he's punching it, trying to break in with Decepticons, and Springer says something along the lines of, I'm not gonna, like, go out, I'm not gonna, I don't have time to die or something like that. I'll leave a link in the description to the actual scene from the movie, but he says something along those lines, and then he chucks this missile into a missile pod and it shoots. But it looks really good. The only other thing I have an issue with this thing is that it's inaccurate. These little ridges here should be painted yellow, because that's how they were in the movie, but it is very nicely molded, and it does very nicely represent what we did see on screen in the 86 movie. But the last thing he does come with, which is a complete random accessory that I have no idea why they decided to add, well, I do have an idea, but is a wrecker hammer. Does it look cool? Yeah. Is it completely necessary to this? Absolutely not. Does Springer have any connection to this? Never. In any universe ever does he have a connection to the Wrecker Hammer, but it does look nice, and then you can just peg it into his hand, and it does look really cool. Now, I'm cutting this in after because I'm realizing I'm doing the transformation right now and I actually missed something. You do have a little feature that you can also do where essentially in one of the scenes in the movie, Springer brings out this like little blaster. So if you if you start to transform this, and then you can rotate this little blaster out, you do have the ability to have that little blaster from that scene where the Autobots are outnumbered, and then Springer whips this out and shoots someone in the face. So as you can see, really, really nice, very, very like cool little detail. And I'll say that much is very, very cool that they decide to add that. But yeah, very, very cool little extra accessory and feature there. Didn't have to do that, but that does make this a little more compelling as a purchase. It's just, as I discussed in the beginning of the review, the question really becomes whether this guy is worth the leader class price point when at the end of the day he was just a Voyager class figure. Now, there are changes to this guy that do make him more useful, more functionally fun and useful, and he looks better, but at the same time, I can't help but think that the reason that they just threw in the Wrecker Hammer is to justify the fact that they needed enough plastic so that you would pay $60 for it, right? And so the Wrecker Hammer really just at the end of the day feels like a throwaway accessory. If you have the other Wreckers that we have gotten over the past few years, then certainly put that hammer with them in that collection and that display. But for Springer here, it just feels really, I'm not saying fake. I don't know how to say it. It's not fake, but it just feels very like forced, right? It feels very forced for them to do that when instead of giving us the hammer, they could have, touched up the paint on this. Or they could have filled in these gaps. Or we didn't really need these guns, in my opinion. Honestly, the only accessories we needed were these four. And at the end of the day, we didn't even need this. I'll be honest with you. We didn't need this. But honestly, if we got these three accessories, the rotor, the sword, and the gun, and then maybe this, it would have been fine. And then they wouldn't have had to justify having us pay this much for this Springer. But the other part of it obviously has gone into the improvements, the engineering, the paint here. But still, it just, I don't know. There's something that leaves a bad taste in my mouth, particularly these accessories. I just don't really see a point in these accessories existing all that much. Like this is cool. Out of all of these accessories, this is the one that I'd be willing to accept. These ones, however, I just do not, I don't know. I do not like them. This is the gun that we need. This is the sword for the rotor that we need, and this is the actual sword that Springer has, so I am very, very happy with those accessories. But again, it just feels like these in particular, and Jesus, that was thunder. Jesus, these are forced. So I don't know how you guys feel. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. I can't remember if Springer actually used these guns, which if that is true, then I will definitely retract my statement. But at the end of the day, this still feels like a complete cop-out, and this could have been left out in my opinion. But that's just me. You guys can obviously argue with me or, have a discussion with me about those in the comments below. Or if you have your own thoughts and, everything like that. But yeah, I don't know. That just feels really, really rough to me. But before we get into the articulation, we're obviously going to be doing our comparison. So we're going to set Mr. Springer off to the side here. Alrighty, folks, here he is with the Deluxe Class Legacy United Magnus. As you can see, again, Voyager versus Deluxe, but Springer's actually a fair bit of a big guy, but as you can see, pretty solid stuff. I mean, again, Springer, this is his actual size. This is how big he should be. He is pretty much the exact same size as the Siege one, so if you're, worried about the scaling with Ultra Magnus, don't be worried about that here, or any of the other 86 bots. Yeah, here he is with Magnus. Here he is with Sideburn, as well as you can see, again, Deluxe versus Voyager, size, pretty solid stuff. Again, you really feel Springer's engineering in his girth, everything along those lines. But yeah, again, just another comparison. Another one for a more recent figure, he is with the Voyager Class Animated Universe Legacy United Optimus Prime. As you can see, Prime is actually a little bit taller than he is, but as you can tell when it comes to Springer, when you hold both of these guys, they actually feel around the same, but I don't know, Springer does still feel a little more put together in comparison to something like Optimus Prime here, but not saying that this figure is bad at all. No, it's a fantastic figure, as I mentioned in my review. But when it comes to Springer, he does feel a little bit better put together. And finally, here he is with the Siege Springer. As you can see, now the reason I was waiting to show more of the details off was so I could compare the two. So as you can see the differences here in the forearms. You can see him here in the thighs as well. You can see them, even some parts here of the legs. You can see the paint here on the feet is different comparison to this guy. This is also much more vibrant in comparison to the more flat gray here. Obviously, the hands are different here as well. When you're looking at the heads, I mean, look at the head here. I'll compare them. You can see having them both on screen. This is just much more accurate. This is not as accurate here, but they do both look very good. This is just the much more accurate one here on the left in comparison to the right. Taking a look at the backs, they're pretty much the same. Again, it's really just that backpack, but the thing that really still bothers me is that this guy, sometimes when he's standing, he doesn't feel like he's standing up very well. The heels and the joints in the ankles do not feel necessarily the best, and so that is one little crap thing that I find about this, is that despite him being a leader class figure, it doesn't feel like he is as solid as he should be, although he does feel better put together than this one. One thing I'll show off too is when you're looking at this, you can see here in the arm, this is what I was talking about. This is completely cut out, and there's no extra, part here that allows this to just sort of slot in as nice, and so it doesn't like to stay pegged in as well. And as you can see here in the shoulders, this is just a swivel here in comparison to how they did it here with the new Studio Series 86 Springer. In addition to that, when you unpeg the chest, you can see there's no tabs here, there's no holes here, anything like that. It's just, it kind of rests in there, and that the arms are there meant to sort of lock everything into place. And unfortunately, like I told you, they don't exactly like to lock the whole chest into place the best way either. Like, I don't know, it's just not, this is not as well put together as this, although the ankle joints on this guy do feel a bit more substantial and better than the ones on this guy. So it's not that much of a difference, but it's noticeable enough. So there's comparing both of the Springers in their robot modes. Alright, and finally, we'll get into the articulation, which is where this figure shines a bit. Now, when it comes to the head, it's cool. You can do, like, a back and up for his head, and what's nice about that is it gives you a much more fuller range of motion. So you get an up and down, and then you do get a full 360. You get a little bit of this like side to side, which is really, really awesome. So definitely remember to do that. For the arms, they are on a swivel, so you can get almost a full 360, but the way that they're designed, you don't quite get it full. You can go out a bit, and then you can go in, and then you do have more than 90 degrees at the elbow. You have an you have a elbow rotation, and then you also do have wrist articulation, and then you do have openable hands, which is always really nice. You get much more expressive poses because of that. The waist, you do technically have full 360, but because of how it's designed, it always runs into this part here, so unfortunately you don't usually get the full 360, but in all reality, this is about all you need anyway, so I'm not really that angry about it. For the legs, you do have forward, you have back, you have more than 90 at the knee, that's awesome articulation, and then you do have a thigh rotation, and then you do have crazy ankle rockers, so you can get the splits with this guy, absolutely insane splits with this guy. You can see here, you can get the splits with this guy. It's just, you can see the limits in articulation in the waist and in the arms because of the way that the shoulders are designed. But you can get the splits with this guy, which is really, really cool. But yeah, although the articulation is really, really, really good, there are just a couple of areas that do leave a bit to be desired. So unfortunate that that's the case. Like, again, like you can see here, like you can get some solid range of motion, but because of how they're designed, they like to bump into everything, and you can't get as much as you would like. I mean, you can get that, which is really, really nice, because there is, like, it's like a separate joint here, but unfortunately, everything just feels like it bumps into one another or something like that, and it doesn't necessarily look as good as you would want it to. But, again, still really good articulation, just a bit unfortunate that there's some areas on this guy that definitely could have still been improved when it came to that articulation. Alrighty, and with all that out of the way, it is time to get back into the reverse transformation. So to do that, it's really not that bad. We're going to transform him into his helicopter mode. So, whoops, sorry about smashing the camera there. So we're going to lift this up, lift that like this, and as you can see, there is a tab here on the back of the elbow. There's a tab hole right there, and then you just got to lift this so that this tabs into place. Now mine, sometimes it doesn't like to tab in the best. This is one part of the transformation I'm the biggest fan. And then fold this up, fold the fist like that, and then you can just untab the arms and rotate them down. So again, same on this side. You're just going to want to do that, fold that out. Then you're going to want to line up those tabs. You'll feel it snap into place when you actually get it. It just really, for my copy, like, good lord, it's just so annoying to get this to tab in correctly. Like that, there we go. And then fold that down as well, and then you can untab and rotate the arm down. Take the chest, you can unfold this. And speaking of the chest, the one thing I never mentioned that I meant to is that one issue I had on the original Siege one is that this bit in particular was really hard sometimes to untab, and luckily with this one they did fix that. So you're going to fold those down, and then you're going to rotate this down, and then you're going to rotate the head around, and then you're going to fold the head back in, and then you're just going to close this up. And then what you'll do is you'll just rotate this in like so, and then just sort of leave this accordioned up like so for the time being. Now we'll do the legs. I like to do the legs here, so we'll fold these bits down like so. Then you're going to rotate them all the way around like that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to unfold these bits and unfold these bits at the same time. You're going to rotate this up like so, and around like so. Excuse me, around like so, around like that. And rotate that out like so. Again, do the same here. So we're going to rotate this up, and helps get these out of the way. I'm going to rotate these up and around, and then these will fold in. You just rotate them like that. Do that, fold this like so. Just push these together. Make sure that you've rotated them correctly. Make sure that they're like so. Then all you got to do is fold out the wing bits here. Tab them together like so. Like that. Then for this section, just accordion it back, and then this will lay down. Tab that all into place. Just tab that into place. Gotta push, and make sure everything is lined up. Fold these down. I like to fold these down. Now all you gotta do for the arms, accordion them down, then accordion them up, And then what you'll notice is that there is a tab right there, and then the tab on the inner side of the arm. All you got to do... Oh, whoops, excuse me. One thing we have to do that I didn't do. I don't know why I didn't do it. I'm thinking of going into the car. Fold this down, fold this out, rotate it, fold this up, then rotate this all the way around. Same thing here. Untab this, rotate this down, do this all the way around like that. And now it's easy. Now you can actually tab this into place. So accordion that, you notice that there is a tab hole right there, and then there is a tab right there, and then you just gotta slot this into place like so. Make sure it's all squozen here, as MGO would say. Like that. Then just take the sword, split it apart, and then you just peg it right into that hole. And ladies and gentlemen, here we have the Transformers Studio Series 86 Leader Class Autobot Springer back in his helicopter mode. And so, folks, for my final and concluding thoughts on the Transformers Studio Series 86 Leader Class Autobot Springer, is this figure good? Yes, I'm not going to deny that. Let's get into the good. The paint is much more cartoon accurate. The articulation has been improved. Some of the joints and stuff in terms of like the transformation, they've been improved. Also, it feels way easier to actually be able to peg the arms into the upper chest section in comparison to the original. It actually stays pegged in. In addition to that, the nice added shoulder joints are really nice. The nice added joints in the hands for the folding fingers are really, really good. And overall, when it comes to the articulation is fantastic. Like I said, aesthetics, articulation, and he comes with a lot of accessories. But the accessories, in my opinion, is also a bit of a downside because, you know, you gotta say, right, the major reason that they added even that wrecker hammer was mainly due to the fact that they needed to justify that price point when they could have either painted the missile pod, or in addition to that, they could have filled out the back part of the legs to make this guy look much more clean. And that's a bit unfortunate to know that that's more than likely the case, because the big question for this figure is it worth the leader class price point? I don't know. It's really tough to say. Because the thing is this figure, by pretty much every subjective standard, is better than the Siege one. By pretty much everything else, the only thing is that he does feel a little bit loose in some areas, but the major thing also, he doesn't feel the best when standing up, because, man, those the heels are just not good, and the ankle joints are not the best either. But what I will say is that if you are not content with the original Springer and you do have the disposable income, then go ahead and pick this guy up, because this guy is subjectively the better figure when you're comparing it one-to-one and not in the context of Siege, Earthrise, Kingdom, Studio Series, Legacy, Legacy United, Legacy Evolution. This guy is very much the better and more cartoon accurate figure of the two by far, and for sure this will be the guy that will be in my display. However, the other side of the coin is when you add all of that context, when you add the fact that this guy is a remold and a slight retool and a repaint and everything like that with added accessories, does that make it worth it? And in my opinion, if I have to lean towards yes or no more than yes or no, like if I had to lean towards one of them more, I would say no. And the reason being is just because I don't like the fact that the wrecker hammer is very forced. The engineering is there, don't get me wrong. You do have some very nice engineering. The paint, the articulation, the aesthetics, it's all there. It's just, man, when you charge the 60 extra buckaroos, like I said, I think the only accessories you really needed was this, and the rotor. And we would have been perfectly fine. We wouldn't necessarily need this, or this. And if he didn't use them in the show, I can't remember if he did or the movie, these. And so at the end of the day, do I recommend this figure to you guys to buy? No, I personally wouldn't. Again, I do not feel the best in just outright recommending this figure due to some of the things that I feel are forced in this. And I hope you guys maybe understand what I'm saying. But I do think, again, it is subjectively the better figure. But given all the context when you add in Siege, Kingdom, all that stuff, I don't personally think that it's worth the $60 price tag. Although it is a very good figure, just not there. Now, I am going to be giving this figure an 8 out of 10 because it is a good figure. We can't deny that it's a good figure. But again, it's just that context that's surrounding it and the accessories that are, the couple accessories to me that feel forced are really struggling for me to recommend this guy as well as give this guy a full 10 out of 10 because he just isn't. It's just not worth it, that price point, I don't think. But again, this figure is subjectively the better one. I know I've repeated myself a bunch of times, but if you do have the disposable income, then definitely go and pick this guy up. So for me, I did pick mine up on the Big Bad Toy Store, so I will leave a link in the description to that, also to Hasbro Pulse, as well as Amazon, so you guys can pick up your copy. I assume that this guy should be hitting stores relatively soon, considering I got this guy like a week or two ago from when I'm reviewing it, so when it comes to this guy, when it comes to this figure, definitely wish you the best of luck if you are hunting him IRL, as I do per usual. But I really do think that that's about it for the video review. So I thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like, comment, rate, and subscribe. Share this video with your friends. Also follow me in the socials. Those will be linked in the description below. And with that, guys, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video review. And I apologize if it's a bit disjointed. This is my first recording after like a week, so I'm kind of like getting back into it. So apologies for that. But thank you guys again for watching this video review, and I will catch you on the next one. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.